Well, good Tuesday morning, folks. It is January 19th, and we are jumping into the 20th chapter of Luke's Gospel today. We're going to look at verses 1 to 8 today, and this is where the scribes and the elders come to Jesus and question his authority. Now, you have to remember where this falls into place and what we've been talking about. And yesterday, of course, we had the cleansing of the temple. Jesus just got into Jerusalem, goes to the temple, causes a ruckus, and at least symbolically shuts down the function of the temple with the sacrificial animals and the buying of the temple coins and all of that stuff. So here the scribes and the elders, the chief priests, all three of them, these groups, are coming to Jesus and saying, "Hey, what's up with that? What made you think you had a right to do all of that? And what's going on here?" So that's where we are at this morning. So we're going to jump into the 20th chapter of Luke's Gospel, verses 1 to 8 this morning. All right? The authority of Jesus questioned. One day, as he was teaching the people in the temple and telling the good news, the chief priests and the scribes came with the elders and said to him, "Tell us, by what authority are you doing these things? Who is it who gave you this authority?" He answered them, "I will also ask you a question, and you tell me, did the baptism of John come from heaven, or was it of human origin?" They discussed it with one another, saying, "If we say from heaven, he will say, 'Why did you not believe him?' But if we say of human origin, all the people will stone us, for they are convinced that John was a prophet." So they answered that they did not know where it came from. Then Jesus said to them, "Neither will I tell you by what authority I am doing these things." So, first of all, we have Jesus is there teaching the good news, right? The gospel is what it means. He's teaching them about himself, the coming Messiah. He may or may not be saying, probably not yet, is he identifying to these folks that, just as who I am, but he's setting the stage for what's to come later in the week, okay? This is the big week. This is the big show. It's already started. The triumphal entry is the beginning of the big show, as they say, leading up to crucifixion, resurrection, all of that. And so the chief priests are coming to him and talking to him. Now, some people question as to what Jesus was. He wasn't really a rabbi, wasn't really an educated teacher. Well, we don't know that. Honestly, where he comes from in Galilee, Hillel was very popular, and some of the things Jesus says sound a lot like Hillel. I am of the mind, I can't prove it, but I'm of the mind or the opinion that Jesus was influenced, or at least had experienced the teachings of Hillel. And though he didn't completely agree with him, because of some things like divorce, he was absolutely, positively on the other. He was a Shammai follower, or more than Shammai, on divorce. And he was further to the other end from Hillel on who was your neighbor. So Jesus definitely had some training, and Jesus' way of teaching and Jesus' way of querying with people was very much a rabbinic fashion. This right here is the way a rabbi was answering a question with a question. We think that's that's the way Jesus worked. That's the way the rabbis worked. You answer a question with a question. That's how they did things. That was a common practice among the rabbis. So what Jesus done here is very common. He's asked, they've asked him a question. He's asked them a question. They can't answer the question. I'm not going to answer your question. So it's a tit for tat kind of a thing, back and forth. But the real question is, who is his authority from? Who gave him this authority? Well, why does he use John the Baptist? Well, there's a good reason for it, I believe. We believe that John the Baptist is promised in the book of Isaiah, and that he is the one coming before the Messiah. And so he's saying, where does John's authority come from? Well, my authority comes from the same place. My authority comes from the Scripture. Well, actually, Jesus' authority comes from beyond the Scripture. It comes from God. But his authority was promised in the Scripture because John's authority was promised in the Scripture. Okay? So this is what, to my eye and my way of thinking, this is what's going on here. So Jesus has them in a tight spot. They can't answer the question without being revealing themselves. So it is a brilliant exchange. There's nothing unbrilliant about the way the rabbis work. They were brilliant guys. But Jesus has them cornered. They can't answer the question, and so they go away for the moment anyway. And Jesus then goes and tells the next parable that we'll talk about tomorrow. But here we want to talk about authority. We got to think about what authority. Jesus' authority came from God, came from Scripture. It's promised in Scripture. It came from God, but it was promised in Scripture. We'll say it that way. But what do we give any authority in our lives? By what authority are we doing and making the decisions we make in this world? By what authority are we using, or rather I should say, to work our way through this life? Is the authority that we're using this authority back here, this thing here, is this our authority, or are we going to human things for the authority, the way we interpret the world? Are we leaning on our own understanding rather than leaning on God's understanding? That's the question I'll leave you with today. I can't answer that for you. Only you can. I can look at it for myself and go, oh, snap. Another one of them fat fingers pointing at us, isn't it? So that's where we're at today. Don't let the world's, man's authority triumph over God's authority. Don't ever let that do that. God's authority is where you need to be living your life, gaining your understanding of the world from this here book. Okay? So have a very blessed day. Sit down, read some scripture today. You can read Luke, but try to read something else too. Maybe start reading some Isaiah. That would be a good place. If we get through, we're going to go to Acts after we get through with Luke. Maybe we'll go to Isaiah after that. Who knows? Maybe, hopefully the world will be normal by that time. By the time we get through Acts. So with that, I'm going to let you go. But tomorrow we're going to start jumping into at least one or two. I'm not sure how many parables in a row we have here. I'll look tonight. So, anyway, have a very blessed day and be a blessing to someone today. We will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.